Hi everybody, it's Austin and Harmony, my panda, you know, hangs out with me in my room, bat cave. But just like I said, I'd be coming back with a video about the JET program interview. And excuse me if I'm looking down a lot because I had to write notes because I have a tendency to ramble. So I want to stay on topic because it can get out of control. First of all, if you want to get like the complete detailed from every detail from the interview, you can look on my blog at jetlifejourney.tumblr.com. That's where I'm logging everything. I'll be constantly updating that as I go along, and the whole adventure will be in post on that blog. So feel free to continually check that out as I'll be updating it. First thing about the interview. My interview was February 18th, and I interviewed in Atlanta at the consulate in Atlanta. It's the closest one to where I live. I'm in South Carolina, so we had to drive. It wasn't very far. I'm just going to go over a few things, maybe about 5 main points of the interview. First is interview attire. I know that a lot of people were online saying that you should go and buy a new suit. I didn't go and buy a new suit. I didn't have the budget for it. I am a college student working 3 jobs, and even with 3 jobs I'm still struggling because my tuition is so high. So I didn't go out and buy a new suit. I had a blazer that I'd had for a couple years that I got from Goodwill, and it was black, and a pair of black slacks that I've had since high school. And I went and bought a new shirt. It was just like a $12 button down shirt from Walmart, and a pair of flats that I bought for like $10 for a museum gala that I went to once. So with that being said, some fake pearl earrings and a little pearl necklace, and that was it. Honestly, my pants were too long and I didn't even get them hemmed. I ended up having to pin them up with safety pins, and I'm all like, oh God, I hope no one notices that my pants are pinned up with safety pins. So you don't go out and blow money on a new suit if you have nice things that you can wear at home. So yeah, but either way, if you want to see what I wore, definitely check out the blog, and I have photos up of everything that I wore on interview day. And what else I have here, and the area. So the place that you'll interview if you're at the Atlanta consulate is called Phipps Tower, and it is on Lenox, I think at the intersection of Lenox and Peachtree. So yeah, I got down there about 3 hours early because I was being crazy. I didn't want to be late, and I didn't realize that I'd end up so early. But try to be early if you can, because Atlanta traffic is ridiculous. I honestly thought I'd have time to sit in the car and like go over my application packet and everything before the interview, but my mom does not like driving in traffic. She was like, you're gonna have to drive, and I'm like, crap. So that was no interview prep for me. I drove down there from Covington because we ended up staying the night at my aunt's house because I have family in Georgia, and that saved us trouble of having a hotel room or rushing down there. So we got down there at 11 in the morning, and we ended up going to Lenox Mall. So you can park for free at the parking garage in Lenox Mall and walk over to Phipps Tower, and I think you can also park for free at the AMC Theater that's right next to Lenox Tower. But we ended up, Phipps Tower. So we ended up going to Lenox and just hanging out at the mall, looking around, shopping and stuff until it was time for the interview. And one of the best things you can do regarding your interview is have all your paperwork ready ahead of time. Make sure you have everything, including your driver's license, your interview voucher, and I feel like there was another paper that we were supposed to have. But whatever paperwork that you're supposed to have, make sure you have it all together the night before. I didn't do that. I went and got the photos for the voucher taken that morning at a CVS, and forgot my binder with adhesive in it to tape it or glue it onto the paper, and ended up like running through the mall asking a strange guy at a kiosk if he had any tape, and that's where I ended up getting tape to tape my thing on. So just make sure you have everything done so you don't have to panic at the last minute like I did. And the next point here is punctuality. Make sure that you're early, like I said before, because you never know what's going to happen. I was only there 20 minutes early, and it probably would have benefited me to be earlier than that. I had a little time to get some water, give myself a pep talk in the bathroom, say a prayer, you know, the usual, and went inside and sat down and waited. You have to give your things to the receptionist, and it's best to be aware of your behavior throughout the entire situation, even when you're just dealing with the receptionist or whoever's there, because you never know who's who in the building. There have been people who the receptionist at the desk was actually someone who was interviewing them later. So just be mindful of your attitude and your demeanor before you go into the interview room. So I went into the interview room, and there were some other candidates in there, and we were talking and just hanging out until it was time to go inside. And I brought a watch. No one else wore a watch, and this was at the suggestion of my friend, like, get a watch. And I'm like, I don't wear watches, but I did it. I got a watch. It was like $12 from Walmart, and no one else in the waiting area had a watch. And they make you give up your cell phone before you go inside. You can't take your phone into the interview at all, even if you have it on silent, whatever. They won't allow it. You have to put it in a box at the receptionist desk. And I left my phone with my mom downstairs. I had no intentions of taking it in anyway. I was like, for what, anybody that I need to talk to, I can talk to them afterwards. But I went inside, and the guy was like, give up your phone. And I'm like, I don't have a phone. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I left it. And he was like, oh, that's unusual. You know, I guess a lot of people bring their phones, but there was a box, and nobody in the interview room had the time or knew what time it was. And there was no clock in there either, so you don't know what time it is or how soon it'll be before your interview is. So bring a watch. It will help. Because I was the official waiting room clock. Everybody was like, what time is it? What time is it? And I'm like, 2 o'clock. But anyway, next thing, well, the guy came in to get me for my interview, and he walked me in there. It was a man from the consulate who interviewed me, a lady who was Japanese. She was a Japanese professor. The man from the consulate was Japanese as well, and then there was a former ALT who was also on the interview panel. And the interview was not, well, it was okay. I was nervous, but it wasn't as bad as maybe I expected it to be. And my thing is, when I'm nervous, I shake really bad. It's like the worst indicator to have when you shake, but I shake really, really bad, and I had to control that. It was so difficult. I mean, they're going to expect you to be at least some level of nervous, but you have to maintain your composure to the best of your ability, because they're looking for people who can deal with high pressure situations, and being in a whole nother country on your own with nobody that you know, it's a high pressure situation, and you have to be able to maintain yourself. So just kind of try to be calm and relax as much as you can. So I go in there, and they introduce themselves, and I introduce myself as well, and they start asking questions. And I think a lot of the time the questions that they ask are not extremely standard. I think it's based on your application, because they have like tons of papers on the table, and they're looking through papers, and I guess they read over your SOP before you come in for your interview. They read over your statement of purpose that you send in. So make sure you know everything that's in your application packet. All the stuff you put in there, you need to know what's in there backwards and forwards in case they ask you anything out of there, and you'll definitely have an answer. But if I can remember all the questions, I know they asked me why I chose certain placements. So have a reason for why you chose your placements, because they want to know that you didn't just close your eyes and stick your finger on the map. You know, do some research so they can know that you were really interested in where you were going. They also asked, sometimes they say they want you to give a mock lesson, and I'm thinking they were going to say, oh, give a mock lesson on a holiday, or teach about animals or something like that, because a lot of people have gotten, you know, that question, and I saw it online. So what they asked me to do was to teach a mock lesson on culture in Charleston. And it really threw me for a loop. I was not expecting that at all. I really wasn't. I had no idea they would ask me that. I was so prepared for holiday or animals, and I was just like, oh crap, what am I going to do now? And the lady who was a former ALT, she lived in Charleston for a while, or worked in Charleston or something, and she had, you know, some idea of the local culture. And I was like, oh, I can't fudge anything, because if I do, she'll definitely know. But fortunately for me, I brought some things with me, and I happen to have some photos from a photo shoot that I did for a Women of Culture photo shoot with different females from Charleston who were all from different cultural backgrounds. And so I just happened to bring them, pulled them out, showed them to them, talked about each person in the photos and how you might see them around Charleston, and then about the background of the photo I took near the water, and talked about how, you know, there's beaches here, and then concluded by asking them questions to see if they understood, you know, what was going on. So there was that. I looked up on that one. They also asked, what was another question? What were like 3 famous people that I would teach about? And they also asked about how would I feel if I didn't get placed in the places that I chose, or how if I got placed somewhere where it was really hot or somewhere where it was really cold. What else did they ask? They asked questions like, how would I help students pronounce things, like, because she was saying something about how when they're pronouncing L words and R words, they sound kind of similar, so how would I work with that? And then they also asked a question about how I would feel about being the only African American person in the area that I'm in, which I can understand is a pertinent question, and I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool with that. It'll be a great learning experience for me, as well as everyone else there, which is another thing, because it just amazed me to know that there are people who have never even seen someone of my complexion, and that amazes me. So I want that to change. I think we all need to see each other. We all need to know each other. Cultural tolerance, that's a whole nother subject. I'll get on that later. But yeah, so there were lots of questions. Just kind of go over some of the stuff that you see online, and just be prepared to answer questions, any sort of question that they can throw you from out of your application packet. I did a lot of volunteering beforehand, and I did some volunteer teaching and lots of stuff, so there were so many things that they could have pulled out of my application and asked me about, but I made sure that I knew everything backward and forward. And your demeanor, be pleasant during your interview. Smile, smile, smile. Don't look crazy. Don't let your corners of your mouth touching the back of your head, but you know, just be pleasant, because you're going to be working with children and kids and teenagers and stuff, and they respond well to a happy person. You know, it's the whole Yankee Jet thing. But yeah, that too. And when you're talking to everyone on the interview panel, just make sure to give everyone eye contact. Even if you're answering one person's question, look around at everybody to make sure you're, you know, so they understand you're engaging them in conversation and everything. And what else did I do? I brought some of my own personal artwork and showed them some of my work, and one thing that I did was a book that included some paper sculpture, and it translated English and Japanese, and I think they really liked that. I kind of saw them light up when I showed them that book. So I would like to teach English through art, and I think that's kind of my thing that I want to do. And depending on your background and what your degree is in, I think they probably place you in schools or with a grade level specific to what your skill set is. And I've read that certain schools and boards of education are looking for people with certain skill sets, which is why you may not get placed exactly where you want to get placed. Even if there were openings, they just find a place, that a school that you would be a better fit for, which is why you have to be flexible in where you want to be placed. And trying to think what else. I mean, there were probably more questions, but like I said, that was in February and it's June and I don't remember everything. So the best bet, if you want to know in detail every single thing that happened, visit my blog, jetlifejourney.tumblr.com. And I suppose I'll be back with another video about something else important. Probably the, you know, acceptance stuff and paperwork and all that will be the next video. So thanks for watching again. Stay tuned, and I will have videos up as soon as possible. Graduation. I graduate this Thursday, June 19, 2014. I'm done with college. I'm done with my degree. I don't know how to feel about this. I'm excited. And I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get to Japan, man. It's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. But anyway, I'll ramble all day. Just stay tuned to the next video. Keep up with my blog. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at Formula79. And catch you later. Thanks again for watching the video, guys. Feel free to subscribe if you want to keep up with what's going on, and check out the blog jetlifejourney.tumblr.com. And I'll have more videos coming soon with more information about the purgatory between finding out whether or not you get accepted and the acceptance paperwork and everything. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks.